Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And Happy New Year to everybody out there. Hopefully this year will be the best year yet. Today's video will be about an article put out by the Daily Mail that, of course it is an anonymous source, but the Daily Mail is putting it out. It's also in the New York Post, so perhaps they were able to verify its credibility. The source says, anonymous please. He was arrested only 40 minutes from our home near our aunt and uncle's. Went to school with my cousins. His sister lives in our town. A good friend of ours was one of the cops who has been following him the last couple of days. He coaches with my husband and was telling him all the crazy details. He followed him into a giant grocery store and wore gloves the entire time. He's not stupid and has been very careful. Also, he's been stalking them for weeks. Not sure if they ever interacted, but his cell phone pings followed their every move for weeks. So freaking scary and disturbing. I've been so invested in this case the last 6 weeks, and to find out how close he is to us and that one of our friends found him and arrested him is just crazy. What's interesting about this article is it shows, if it's true, we have to base it on that because it's an anonymous source. Sounds like it's likely true since it's made it into a couple different articles. If it's true, is Bryan Kohberger the stalker that Kaylee was referring to all those weeks ago? Apparently he has been stalking them. His cell phone pinging their every move, the source says. So when you look at the layout of the town right here, you'll see that where the house was at 1122 King Road, there's this driveway that comes up here, and I wonder if his car may have been parked much like this vehicle here is often. We talked about this early on because there's video out there that shows that you can see through the trees during the winter months and see right into the home over here. You can see into Kaylee's room, the kitchen, and Madison's room. And you can see the light coming on in the second floor room that it's possible one of these surviving roommates lived in, even though it's been reported that both the surviving roommates were on the first floor. So let's take a look at the 3D model. This is the front of the house right there. And then, as I was just showing you, behind the house, there's this driveway that comes up here. And you can see right into the house, basically like this. So here's the kitchen, Kaylee's bedroom. This is the window that's above the U-shaped stairs as you go up the stairs. So you'd be able to tell if anybody was walking up there. Here is Madison's bedroom. So this person may have been watching them often in the house. Now the front of the house, you'd only be able to tell if Zaina's light was off by being in the front. So possibly Bryan walked around to the front of the house, made sure that those lights were off and all the lights were off, and then also from up above could see that all the lights had turned off, then waited maybe a half hour, make sure that they're all sleeping, and then enter the home. I think it's likely that Murphy the dog was probably in Kaylee's room, and Madison and Kaylee were likely in this room, and we know that they were both trying to communicate with Kaylee's ex-boyfriend Jack on the phone, so they were likely just sort of laying on bed in there together, trying to call him, and then eventually just went to sleep on the same bed in there. And Murphy, her dog, was just left in her own bedroom, and she probably shut the door so that he wouldn't just be running around the house during the night. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see where those phone pings were tracking him. Where in the town were the cell phone pings right next to the 1122 King Road address where all 4 victims were killed? Just everywhere. And also, it doesn't seem to mention the 2 surviving roommates. And I'm just wondering if Kaylee, Madison, Zaina, and Ethan were all better friends and would hang out more often. We don't really know. It'd be interesting, though, if he stalked all of them and would follow them around to various locations. And then he was eventually going to go into that house, and maybe he was really just stalking all the women that were in that house. And then eventually he was going to go in there and kill all 5 of the women in that house. But it turns out that there was too much noise made maybe on the first 3, and perhaps it is true that the 2 surviving roommates' doors were just locked and he couldn't get into them really quickly, so he got out of there. Now, we did have a caller the other night, I think it was Mike D, if I remember correctly, who was talking about how easy it is to just break in to doors that are inside the house unless they are specifically made stronger, much like the front door of a house. So it turns out this Bryan Kohberger psycho is starting to sound more like a serial killer-like person. You know, that doesn't mean he technically is a serial killer, but I think his mentality is very similar. And that's why you can make comparisons. A lot of people say when somebody is killed with a knife, it's personal, and it's, you know, there's a lot of rage there. Well, serial killers often kill in a way that seems like it's personal because that's what they want to do. You know, that's how they're feeling, but there might not be any personal connection. In this case, though, there could be a connection because it sounds like Kaylee's father is saying that they've found a few different connections between his daughter and the killer. Now, Steve Gonzalez, who's Kaylee's father, has said multiple times that he believes that his daughter was the target because her wounds were different. But again, does it really mean that she was the target specifically because her wounds were different? Or was it just the circumstances of the killing that her wounds were significantly different than the others? So far, we've learned that Bryan was socially awkward, but very intelligent. Something we haven't heard at all about is whether or not he's ever had a girlfriend. Not one time so far. Now, maybe it's been mentioned somewhere and I just haven't seen it, but I haven't seen any ex-girlfriends come forward or the mention that he had an ex-girlfriend. So this guy is, to me, is giving off the James Holmes / Elliot Rodger vibe, where he's very frustrated and got fixated, knew that he had the thoughts that he had, much like James Holmes. James Holmes, I believe, studied some sort of psychology classes to figure out why he was like he was. Bryan Kohberger knows who he is and why he's the way he is. So he took the criminology courses, much like Dexter. I know Dexter is a fictional character, obviously, but on that show, Dexter was a forensic photographer and basically just a forensic scientist. He could do everything, the blood spatter, etc., etc. So he knew what not to leave at the scene and what to do to minimize his exposure for DNA or anything like that. And maybe that's similar to Bryan Kohberger, he's taking criminology and criminal justice courses on the legal side and on the forensic side, in the criminology side, where he's learning what not to do and things to avoid when he's going to commit these murders. It seems to me like he's wanted to commit these murders for a long time. I don't know if in his mind he feels like it's revenge for some time when he was jilted, but maybe that communication that Steve Gonzalez refers to with Kaylee was actually little communications on social media, and maybe those were a little bit strange, and perhaps that's why Kaylee thought she was being stalked. So this is all developing information, everybody. Very interesting stuff. We're going to continue to follow this. I'm still building out my 3D model because I think at one point it's going to be very useful in putting together what might be in the probable cause document, and we'll be able to do it right here. So if you guys could hit that like, share, and subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. And we'll obviously be talking about this later this evening. So thank you very much. And until next time, everybody, be safe out there.